And just let me know in the chat if anyone has any questions. I have it pulled up, so I'll see your questions. But what we're looking at today is we're looking at adding and subtracting matrices. There's a few things that are important when you're adding or subtracting matrices. The first thing is you can only add or subtract it only if, if the matrices have the same dimensions. So you can only add two matrices if they're the same size as each other. You add or subtract the corresponding elements, and your answer will be a matrix with the same dimensions. So probably the easiest way just to go through these is just do some examples, but addition and subtraction, it's probably what you would expect to do with a matrix. It's not, I don't think it's too confusing. Let me see if I can set this up. So for example, in example 1, you're going to add these corresponding parts. So if you don't have a calculator, you might want one, or you could use your phone. But sometimes with negatives on your phone, I know it can be a little bit tough. We'll see how it goes today. But 4 plus -5, that would be -1. And then you're going to add the next corresponding part. So 2 plus 4 would be 6. Then you're going to do the next corresponding part. So 3 plus -8 would be -5. And the last part, I can get one more color. -5 plus 10 would be +5. And sorry, this is a sloppy looking 6. Still not that great, but it's a little bit better maybe. But that would be our answer. So that's how you add two matrices. Just add like the top left with the top left number, top right with the top right number, so on and so on. It's not very hard. Just be careful if you need a calculator, especially with negatives, it can sometimes throw you off. Same exact idea with this bottom one, except we're subtracting. So just be careful if you're subtracting a negative. So this first spot's going to be 4 minus -5. I don't really want to use the highlighter. Just remember, minus a negative really is the same thing as plus. So this first spot would be 9, because 4 minus -5 is really 4 plus 5. If not, just put it in a calculator. The next spot, 2 minus 4 would be -2. 3 minus -8, that's a double negative, so it turns into a positive. So that's really 3 plus 8 would be 11. Then the last spot, -5 minus 10 would be -15. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions yet, but that's how you add or subtract. Basically just add the corresponding parts or subtract depending on what's between your matrices. But really, as long as you're careful, like with your signs, or if you're just plugging in a calculator, just be careful you're not hitting anything. I mean, there's not too much to go wrong with these. So just be careful with like the little things like that. I'll try and keep these up as we move along in case you're writing. Next thing we're going to be looking at, it's called scalar multiplication. If you have a number outside a matrix, like in example 3, that's really 4 times that matrix. So all you do is it's basically like you distribute, or you multiply everything inside by that 4. So like everything inside here, we're going to multiply by this 4. So let me just, I want to make sure I'm not missing. So that's a +1. So for example, 4 times 1 would be 4. 4 times 4 would be 16. 4 times -2 is -8. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times -4 is -4. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 10 is 40. So pretty much if you see like a number outside your matrix like that, you just distribute or just multiply everything inside by it. Not too complicated as well either, but just that's how you're going to handle it. That's called scalar multiplication though. Eventually, later this week, we'll look at if you have two different matrices multiplied together, we'll kind of see how to do that. That's a little bit more complicated, but it's really just a process once we get it down. But we'll see that when we get there. Let's just look at some examples. One thing to keep in mind is sometimes you won't be able to always add or subtract. So for example, one of these problems is we're going to write that it's impossible, or you could write that it's undefined, or something like that. Just write that you can't do it. Somehow, don't just leave it blank, but write something that lets your grade or me know that it's not possible.
Can you scroll up again?
Oh yeah, I can. Give me 1 sec. Just let me know when you're good, and then I'll move on. All right, so let's look at some examples. So this first one, let's see if I can make this a little bit. We'll try it. I want to make it hard to squeeze some of them in. All right, number 4, we're just going to add them together. So usually I just kind of draw my matrices. So if it's this, remember this is a 1 by 2 matrix, 1 row, 2 columns. That means my answer is going to be a 1 by 2. So to add these together, we just do 5 plus 4 would be 9. And then we do the second one, -3 plus 5 would be 2. And I know I'm going a little bit quick with the calculations, but if you have if you don't even have a calculator with you, I mean, like when you're doing these problems on your own tomorrow, you might want a calculator to kind of help you if you're not super good at mental math, or it just makes you even feel more confident, like you're not going to screw up. But notice, like whatever your size, your matrix is, that's going to be the size of your answer.
Are the brackets mandatory?
Since your answer is a matrix, you really should put those around it. So yes. Would I mark you wrong, like on an assignment? I mean, on Delta Math, I think it makes you put them anyways. But like, if we were doing like an assignment, I probably wouldn't mark you wrong. But like on our quiz, like if we were taking like our final test on this, I would probably mark you wrong then. So eventually, yes, you should all the time, but you definitely want to work towards remembering to put those. Number 5, same idea. We have a 2 by 2 matrix, so our answer's also going to be a 2 by 2. So just subtract the parts that go together. So 8 minus 0 would just be 8. Guess I could use different colors. 3 minus -5. That's a double negative, so that's really 3 plus 5. So that'd be also 8. -2 minus 6 would be -8. A lot of 8s. And then -3 minus 4 would be -7. I'm glad you're here, Maddie. We're just going through our notes. If you want to try and jump in, I'll also post a key and stuff online so you can catch up. But I'm sure you're really excited to be here after a nap. You're probably energized for math. For example 6, notice these matrices aren't the same size. Like this one's a 1 by 3 matrix, 1 row, 3 columns. This one's a 3 by 1. So even though they have the same amount of numbers, they're not the same dimensions. So this one would be impossible. Or you could write undefined, or basically you can't do it. This next one, same idea, we just have some more numbers. So I'll try my best to fit these in, but we're just adding. So the first one would be 5 plus 9 would be 14. 1 plus 9 is 10. 3 plus 2 is 5. Then we do the bottom row. So -1 plus -4 would be -5. 2 plus 7 is 9. 4 plus 5 is also 9. Number 8, it's just a simple.
Your face is like in the way of the answer. I don't know if you can like move your camera somewhere.
My face is in the way of the answer?
Yeah.
You might be able to just, if it's the zoom window, you might be able to like drag the cameras.
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah. So, because yeah, it shouldn't like, but hopefully that helps. But yeah, I know it is kind of annoying sometimes the camera gets in the way. So this number 8, we're just multiplying everything inside by 3. So 9 times 3 would be 27. 3 times -4 would be -12. And 3 times 12 would be 36. So I kind of, that was kind of sloppy. Kind of wrote it too big to start. So it would have been 27, -12, and then 36. 9's kind of a trickier question. Like you have these scalar multiplications in front, and then you're subtracting these two matrices. So usually what you want to do is do your scalar multiplication first. So I'm going to just multiply everything in this first one by 3. And then I'm going to multiply everyone in the second one by 4. So for this first, I'm just going to rewrite what my new matrices would be. My first one would change the 24, because 8 times 3, 0, 3 times 0, 3 times -3 would be -9. Then it's going to be minus, and then I'm going to do the second matrix. I'm going to multiply everything in there by 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 once again is 8 again. 4 times 10 is 40. So then you can subtract these two matrices to get our final answer. So just subtracting across the top. So 24 minus 8 would be 16. 0 minus 8 would be negative 8. -9 minus 40 would be -49. Oops. So that's the idea there.